Defeat at what the French called the wretched day of Agincourt had profound effects too in political, conceptual, theological terms, which we underestimate at our peril. The War of 1415, like all medieval wars, was a conflict in which God had been involved from the very beginning. The outcome of battles, contemporaries believed, was always the result of God's will. And so, from the English point of view, interpreting what had happened that fateful day was a matter of the utmost simplicity. Henry's claim to the throne of France, and also his dynasty's right to wear the crown of England, had been gloriously vindicated by his astonishing victory. The very fact that this was a rerun of David vanquishing an arrogant Goliath proved that this was heaven's mandate in action. Henry was fighting a just war, and that was made absolutely plain in the account of the campaign written by one of the royal chaplains who'd formed the spiritual core of the English army. They sat behind the English lines as the battle raged at Agincourt, praying furiously for divine intervention. And when he wrote up his account of what had happened, he said that Henry was the true elect of God, his own soldier. Another chronicler reported in all seriousness that St. George himself had been spotted on the battlefield fighting on the English side. And here we have a contemporary illustration of that. That's in fact the Duke of Bedford, Henry V's younger brother, who later became regent of France, encountering St. George, who you can see here is not only wearing his own red cross, but he's wrapped in the blue robes of the Order of the Garter. He's an English knight through and through. So the question that remained for Henry V's uncle, the Bishop of Winchester, addressing Parliament in 1416, was this. Given that the English had won so many notable victories, he mentioned Sluis in 1340, Poitiers in 1356, and now Agincourt in 1415, why were the French so slow to get the message? "Oh God," he said, "why does this wretched and stiff-necked nation not obey these divine sentences, so many and so terrible, to which, by a vengeance most clearly made manifest, obedience is demanded of them?" But for the French, explaining their defeat was more difficult. It couldn't possibly be that the English were actually right. That much they knew. Instead, God must be using the English to punish the French temporarily for their sins. But if sin was the heart of the matter, then whose sin was most at fault? And that question was unanswerable in the context of the brutal divisions within France, as each side pointed an accusing finger at the other. The net effect, therefore, of their defeat on the field of blood at Agincourt was to redouble the violence of the civil war.